So last time you were on, we played a couple of in-depth games of how, and we were talking about how First Nation spirituality could affect how we play F, Marry, Kill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I forgot about that part.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was in the post game. No, I'm just kidding. I'm being annoying. We talked about movement strategy. Mm-hmm. Can you just reorient us a little bit? You have the Simpsons example. People really loved the Simpsons example. Today we're going to talk about tactics, but can you reorient us towards, first of all, what is the difference?
Yeah. So, well, last time we talked about what I call social movement strategy.
Right.
And so that's how do you shift the balance of forces in a society? But the next layer down of strategy is campaign strategy. And so usually when most people hear the word campaign, they think like an electoral campaign. It can be that, but mostly what I'm talking about is you have an organized group of people that has a goal and sets a target with a demand and tries to win a demand by pressuring that target. And so then within that, your tactics are the stepping stones that get you there. And we actually have a diagram that can help with it.
Yeah, let's get the diagram up if we have that.
Yeah, because...
Is this up, guys? Awesome.
Great. People can confuse tactics and strategy often,
Yeah.
particularly leftists who have a cultural affinity for certain tactics. They're like, we love blockading because it's dope, but aren't driven by a longer path. And so just to situate what we're doing now is my hopes is that in this period we're in right now and in this coming period that's going to need a lot more mobilization. All right.
You can keep flowing.
Cool. Is it still? All right.
Yeah. Matt knows.
I believe Matt. We're going to need a lot more mobilization to win the gains that we're fighting for. And we have a lot more tools in our toolbox than rallies and marches.
Right.
And particularly as the terrain becomes more fluid and society gets more chaotic, fascism can thrive in those conditions.
Right.
And we need to learn from social movements of the way that they've been adaptable and creative and thriving in those conditions too. So the main kind of capsule of building a critical pathway of escalating tactics is a campaign. So you start on the left here is point A. So for those of you who are just listening on the podcast, there's just kind of a dot on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side is your destination. That's your campaign goal. So that's like we're trying to stop a pipeline or we're trying to get, a local campaign. Like we're trying to get more, cheaper bus fare for youths. We're trying to, or we're trying to win a Green New Deal. It can be as big or small. And then you build a pathway with short, mid, and long-term goals. And the hash marks on the way, those are your tactics. So those are all of the actions. Those are all of the steps that you take building towards your goal. And the key thing about nonviolent direct action tactics and protest tactics in general is we're brought up in this country to think that change mostly happens through persuasion, like
Wrong.
of winning in the marketplace of ideas. Nonviolent direct
so
action
this is
about
sort
power.
of outside of politics. I'm seeing you because there's a chart here and there's the word politics isn't on it. That was fascinating.
It was so painful. It like hurt me in my body to watch that interview with Marianne and
See, in some ways we're so similar. And I think one of our core beautiful differences is that made my body happy. Until I got pissed, actually. I did at a certain point get broken by the just relentless stupidity. But anyways, back to it.
If I had seen it on video, it might have been better because I could have seen her reaction. But the key thing, like,
by the way, she increased too. By the end of that, she was becoming like, "Okay, Dave," to like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, here's how that actually ties into this. Is that so? If you didn't hear that interview, Marianne Williamson was talking about
my second choice candidate,
social movements, street heat, popular mobilization, and how that wins gains. And Dave Rubin's response was like, "Oh, that's not even politics." And so my point here is the opposite, which is that politics is fundamentally about how you leverage power as people and gain more democratic control over the different aspects of your life, and then that trickles upward into the electoral arena. So if you want to go to the next slide, actually, sorry, go back. Let's take a moment. Well, let's these hash marks. Let me just talk for another second about campaigns. Because when I say a campaign goal, there's lots of different kinds of goals that campaigns have. So there's your external sort of final goal, but all along the way, your tactical goals, like the goal of a particular direct action, that can be internal. That can be, we want to be building our group and get our folks hype and connected. And part of the value of nonviolent direct action is when people take an emotional and spiritual risk of breaking the rules and taking care of each other despite the consequences by standing on the moral high ground, it binds your group together. So there can be internal goals for sure. There can be organizing goals of we're doing this tactic to be compelling to new people so they'll join our group. There can be pressure goals that you're actually leveraging power on your target. So that spread is like the difference between some tactics are about building the muscle, some tactics are about flexing the muscle to make the campaign look attractive, and some are about like actually punching.
Right.
And so we'll cover that range. And before we get into the different kinds of tactics, let's just take a moment and expand the toolbox. I wonder if the four of us here just brainstorm what are the names of some different tactics, like not specific ones, but kinds.
Milkshakes.
Milkshake.
Yeah, milkshaking people. Yeah.
Milkshaking. Marching.
What else?
Direct action.
What kinds?
Taking something that you want that's been taken from you.
So like land reclamation.
Yeah.
Or like Occupy Our Homes used to break into homes that were foreclosed and take them back, for example. Yeah. What else?
Being a nuisance on social media.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, I was going to say propaganda. That covers that.
Propaganda, right? Propaganda writ large.
Is there a term for like chaining yourself to something?
Yeah. So there's all kinds of
civil
blockades.
disobedience.
Yeah, and we'll get into the distinction between direct action and civil disobedience in a minute, but blockades, blocking something from happening, you can do that with your bodies, you can do that with bicycles, but you can also, like Griscom's saying, like use what's called hard gear to actually lock down something. Like nobody gets in or out. We're using chains, we're using barrels. We can talk more about examples of that too. Anything else?
Sabotage.
The spear of South Africa. Yeah, thank you, David. Just tone it down there as yeah.
No, sabotage is especially in Europe.
Sabotage, especially where?
In Europe, there's a
During
huge
World
tradition.
War II resistance. Yep. Well, but also, yeah, the spear of South Africa, sabotage. What about? I'm sorry. I'm totally blanking on something. I feel like there's something in between sabotage and land reclaiming, but I'm not thinking of it.
Squatting.
Yeah, but is that really sabotage? But okay,
No,
squatting. I don't think so at all.
What's in between those things?
Yeah, it was something I thought was more confrontational. Okay, squatting, mocking people could be a tactic.
Yeah.
No, it actually ridicule could definitely be a tactic.
And this is totally different, but the same word. But like holding mock elections is a tactic. In general, guerrilla theater, street theater.
Street theater is a tactic.
You can do tree sits. You can do all kinds of banner hangs. I'm just trying to get the juice flowing. What else?
God.
Well, so like one thing DSA
Wearing
is
a
doing
Lula t-shirt to see Burner Boy at Prospect Park. That's pretty good.
It's like replacing brake lights. So is there a term for that? So it's like they're like the protest against like police brutality, basically to raise awareness. They're replacing brake lights on cars for free.
It's sort of like service as a propaganda.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, community building services, sort of mutual aid to sustain community. I would say all education in the really broad set of terms, like in the Paulo Freire tradition, like telling people like your rights as a tenant and potentially where you could go on the offense against your landlord.
Yeah.
Maybe you could organize with everybody else. Maybe you could go on a rent strike.
Exactly. So it's
Yeah.
a whole category. Of
rent
how
strikes
do we
would, I would say, its own
meet
category.
our own needs directly. Yeah.
Boycotts are a category when they're done effectively. Obviously, strikes. I mean, I feel like strikes maybe are subsuming a lot of things that we've talked about.
Or related advertiser harassment campaigns.
Yes. Yes, I'm into that.
All the ad busting in the 90s. Yeah, so
That's
you get the
kinda-
idea, right? There's like a lot here. And one of the things that I just want to share for people who are interested, a lot of the frameworks that we're going to use are in 2 different organizing manuals that I helped write that are both free online.
These are really important resources.
And they both, one is called Beautiful Trouble, which there was 168 of us that contributed to it who are direct action practitioners. The other is specifically focused on climate, which is called Organizing Cools the Planet. You can go to both of those at the .org version of the titles. And on there, you can also get a list of 198 tactics that comes from Gene Sharp. So there's no excuse to just have boring marches, is I guess my point with this. And if you want to go to the next slide now, we can break some of those tactics into categories. So the first broad category is what most people are familiar with, which is protest. So that's like rallies, marches, letter writing, petitions, teach-ins, postcards, street theater, billboard liberation, banner hangs. All of those are kind of protest. And what a protest is basically like, it's shining the spotlight on an issue. It's like a big exclamation point. Non-cooperation, this is more typical civil disobedience, where you're withdrawing something from the system that makes it difficult to function. So you're withdrawing your participation, your money, your labor. And so that's consumer boycotts, labor strikes, general strikes, student walkouts, draft resistance, war tax resistance. Yeah,
I was just going to say burning your draft card, for instance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, or even fasting, right? And part of the point of non-cooperation is that it's collective. So if you don't shop somewhere, that's not a boycott. If you get thousands of other people to not shop somewhere, that's a boycott.
Right. You personally deciding to not support a company or whatever is fine if you want to make that decision. But that type of like personal consumer action, I'll just say it means nothing.
Yeah.
If you say we're going to try to get 20,000 people or whatever way you could, to any extent you could scale it, to say for the 2 days this Amazon strike happens, you're not going to do any transaction on Amazon. You actually hit a critical threshold that can do something.
Yeah.
But just saying I don't do Amazon doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Yes.
Which is part of why, and tactics are not about making you feel good or, we're all full of contradictions. And so when you're talking about this kind of arena, I've spent years campaigning against oil companies.
Right.
And I drive a vehicle that uses gas. I go on airplanes. I consume oil. I'm a part of the society. But when there's a campaign against Chevron, I don't get gas from Chevron because it helps the campaign because it's organized and has a target and actually contributes to pressure.
Right.
Me getting gas from Shell in the abstract isn't any different. Shell's just as bad. But the difference is there a campaign going on at that moment? And so the context for this stuff is important. So the next category is intervention. This is what a lot of people think of when they think of nonviolent direct action. So this is not withdrawing something from the system. This is like throwing the wrench in the gears. So this is like blockading roads or buildings, occupations, disrupting meetings, bird dogging, which is...
What is bird dogging?
Bird dogging, it's a weird term.
But
it's where you like follow around a politician, and at every public forum they're at, you're asking the same question over and over, so they can't get away from it. Like the way that a dog follows a bird. I'm not a hunter. I don't know. I think
got
that's
it. Yeah.
I've been pheasant hunting. Dogs will sniff around in the brush until they find the actual bird and then kick it up into the air so you can get a shot at
So
it.
you get a shot at it.
Yeah.
That's nice.
So, it's about being relentless. Everything from like tree sits, you're getting in the way of stuff, basically.
Right.
Then the last one was what Griscom raised, which was these are the creative solutions. This is meeting your own needs directly. So building alternative community, this is everything from worker co-ops to, underground abortion clinics. This is, or to like the Panthers doing a breakfast program. So there's a pretty wide range of stuff that is available to us. And the way that I've worked for 15 years with an organization called the Ruckus Society, which supports groups doing nonviolent direct action. And the way Ruckus defines direct action is the strategic use of immediately effective acts to achieve a social or political end. So you can use these tactics in the economic terrain, in the social arena, and in the political arena as well. And if you have a good campaign, it threads all three, and we'll give examples of doing that.
You've just watched a Michael Brooks show video, and you can watch all of our full main live shows every Tuesday night at around 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and subscribe to get all of the clips you want. We're covering the globe. We're focusing on international relations, the intellectual dark web. We're having fun. We're doing deep dives with a lot of amazing guests. Of course, become a patron for the whole thing at patreon.com/TMBS, or subscribe to this YouTube channel and help us keep growing and get that content out there. Subscribe below.